Yeah, I don't know, with the Andrew Tate thing. You know, it's interesting. I was watching this talk that he did with, what is this girl's name? She's a redhead. Pearl?
Yeah.
So it was Pearl and it was Brittany Renner. There was another girl and Andrew Tate.
I saw a couple clips from this.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting thing about Tate. Tate has really fascinating observations about gender dynamics. I know this is gonna sound crazy if you're someone who's never ingested his content besides like the most salacious shit that comes out on TikTok. I was one of those same people. And I'd always hear people copping pleas for him going, no, he makes some really good points. And I'd go, it seems like he's just saying the wildest shit possible that's also funny. Like, what are you talking about? He also makes good points, right? And then I saw him in discussion with these women, and now I understand what they're saying. He has really interesting observations about gender dynamics, and the problem is, and I don't know if it's a problem, I'm projecting what I would want if I was in his situation. Maybe he wants this exact thing. Maybe he wants to be talked about nonstop, and he wants the excitement and the chaos that goes along with being one of these like incredibly politicized figures. But the problem is the way that he delivers his information, and maybe this is because of the algorithm, it is indigestible to women and it is candy to men. The people that actually could benefit from a lot of the things that he says are women, but they'll never be able to touch it because the way it's communicated is for men. Yeah. And I know this sounds crazy if you haven't watched long form conversations of what he's talking about.
Can you give an example?
He's just talking about like the importance of status. There was a really good one.
Status.
But no, he was talking about a really interesting thing about like with Brittany Renner. Brittany Renner has been like very public about all the guys that she's been with, right? And he was talking about why this would be very difficult for a man, because when he's with you, he is competing with all the people that you've slept with, and the reality of she's fucked all these NBA players, these like super rich guys, these rappers and all these things. The guy that she settles with might not be as rich as the NBA players, as famous as the rappers, as talented as any of them. So he might always feel insecure. Yeah. And if it's your job to make your man feel like the king of the household, and he can't because he's constantly competing with your past, he's always gonna feel that insecurity and then treat you based on that insecurity. And it's a really interesting argument for the idea of having either a low body count or just being quiet about your body count. It's one thing to fuck a lot of rappers and have a pass and do all these things, but you displaying it on the internet, writing a book about it, telling everybody, puts you in a position where you might be alone because there's not gonna be a guy that's gonna wanna put up with that baggage. Just to round out the point, regardless if you agree with it or disagree with it, that information is probably valuable to a lot of women growing up today that are like running with the whole thought is a personality identity. Yeah. And sharing all their exploits online. And then they reach 30 and they're like, why am I alone and single and nobody wants to put up with me? I think that this is just one of the arguments he made, and he didn't make it in a way that was like really insulting or degrading to women. It was just like a really interesting observation about gender dynamics. Yes. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, wow, like the people that would benefit the most from this are not men, because we know it. We feel these things innately. Maybe he can package them in a way that we go, oh, that's how I feel. But we feel these things already. Yeah. The people that would benefit from this are the women that don't understand why men feel certain ways about certain situations, why we don't want to know necessarily about your past, why I don't want to know a single thing because I don't want to start competing in my head with these people that existed for you already. They'll never be able to digest that because of how polarized he is. And he chose to be that polarized.
Yeah. The genius of that, I think, and this is where he can be so smart, is rooting it in a vulnerability, which is true. It's based on our insecurity. And when you present it that way, it's so much more palatable. And he can do that whenever he wants to. And we've always said this. The thing that separates him from everyone else in that world is he can package his points smarter than everybody else. Yeah. He's just the best at packaging it. Yep. And I personally think he doesn't mind all the chaos in the same way that he has the same superpower that Trump has, that I guess we say Jake Paul has, where it's like, look, I don't mind if you hate me. I understand, as long as you are talking about me, I'm going to get where I want to go. The tricky thing is once he gets there, is he going to want to pivot to more nuanced points, which he's clearly capable of making, or like packaging them in this really like nice, vulnerable, like holy shit, we could all learn something from this guy kind of way? Or is he going to be like, well, I got to do what's made me get this famous and stick with that?
He's good at packaging it for men, though.
Yeah.
Like, he's not good at packaging it for all people.
Yes.
And I
don't want to interrupt you. Go, make your point. Make your
I guess I just look at all media, or a lot of media like that, where like, you know, if you listen to like a right-wing commentator, there's probably some truth to what they're saying in specific instances.
But they're packaging it for their...
But they're packaging it to get views and make money rather than to actually impact change. Like if you're trying to hit the people that need to hear it the most, you try to wrap it in a conversation that's palatable to those people. Like I thought that dude, Emmanuel Acho, like when he was doing like those uncomfortable conversations like during COVID, during like all the BLM stuff, he was making it to be like, okay, this is gonna be approachable for like white people to listen to, blah, blah, blah. And he wasn't trying to like make it vitriolic just to like appease a black base to be like, okay, let's make money. It seemed like he actually wanted to.
It's what we did with Turn Your Phones. We like specifically did them in a way where it wouldn't alienate either side of the people that felt a way about this issue, but also spoke to the things that they were both feeling. It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
It's much harder. It's way easier to just fall into the comfort of the people who already support you.
Yeah.
The unfortunate part of that is that you lose out on the people who actually need the information. It's like what I was talking to Jordan Peterson about. And I was like, my only issue, Jordan, with you going with the Daily Wire is that the people that actually will benefit from your information are the people who would never consume something on the Daily Wire, which are the people who might lean way more left. They could probably benefit from the things you're saying and the way that you articulate things and the way you present your arguments. They're really sound, but just having that label is gonna make them go, Ben Shapiro, right-wing, super conservative, I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah. So I agree with you in terms of my first, understanding of Tate was just like the clips that went where he was saying salacious shit, and I was like, oh, this guy's a piece of shit. He's like, and like I was like, this is actually bad for relationships and like men and women.
Yeah.
And then hearing that podcast, I was like, okay, some of your ideas, I get it, and he is right about. I wouldn't say a lot, but like he is right, and so but then he like packages it in this surface level way of thinking that is like, if a guy hears it's like, yeah. And then for women, just like, oh, fuck, I just have to just deal with it. And like the type of things he'll say is like, you know, if you're a top G, I should be able to just sleep with women, and like, you just have to take that. You have to, and it's like, and he'll package these like
I thought
things.
the conclusions of it were misguided.
Yeah.
But the information might have been somewhat true.
He's also speaking from an emotional place. So we all know how we want the world to be.
Yeah.
But we're also limited by like primal emotions.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And he's speaking to how a behavior that a woman exhibits could make a man, her partner, feel. And then how he feels is gonna indicate how he behaves in that relationship. And that's important shit, because if you look at every one of these female magazines, why he acts like this when, why he pretends he's tired when, why he doesn't want to sleep, it's a bunch of women telling women how men act and why they act. And now you have a guy doing it, but he's doing it in a way where no women will ever want to listen when they could really benefit.
Well, at that point, let me ask you this, that point, actual question, how would women receive that poorly? Would it just be, I don't have to deal with your insecurity, or what? Because to me, that point is...
I thought he articulated the points really well for women on that podcast specifically, because he was talking to all women.
And that's what happens when you're reaching across the aisle. You're forced to sort of like compromise on some of the crazy stuff to make it approachable. But when you're just in your own little echo chamber, you don't have to do that.
When you have four dudes that are gonna go,
just cheer you on.
Yeah, you got that shit.
You go crazier, and like you just get, and your emotions take over.
And when the environment is created so that you're supposed to dunk on these girls. Like, for example, Tate on Fresh and Fit or whatever. The environment is, hey, dunk on these girls who aren't ready or equipped for these arguments. When he's talking to those four girls who all have thought about their arguments, have thought about their positions, and have thought about why they feel that way, now he has to come more nuanced. He's gonna get pushback. It's not gonna be some thought who's thought about her eyelashes all day. It's gonna be a girl who's sitting there going, my life is tough because of this and I need to know why. And you saw Brittany kind of like open up and like almost like ask for advice.
I saw that clip actually, and then I saw the Clementine clip, which was funny. When he gives her half the orange. But that clip, what was also interesting is the girl who had Tate on found him funny, and I think that was also disarming. Like you could tell she's like, let's have our fun. You're a fun guy, you're a funny guy. And I think it also created an environment where it's like, hey, we can all talk here.
The Pearl?
Pearl,
but she's a big fan. She's a super fan of hers.
Yeah,
super
I think
she's like red pill girl.
Oh, she's red pill girl.
Yeah, like she's, I think people would call her like the Tate, but a girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is like a very interesting position to be in. That's almost like Candace Owens.
Yeah.
You know, it's a weird thing to compare to, but in the same way where like you yield power because at least a guy can watch and be like, see, a woman gets it.
Because you speak to the other side.
Exactly. Where white people can look at Candace and be like, see, black people do be annoying.
I didn't.
So I had put up just like a little poll on my story. Just a little excerpt from the podcast, and I asked people like, how do you feel about this? And I just wanted to get their responses. It's so crazy how different based on gender people like
What was the excerpt?
It was about like men just wanting a woman to like, I think either be agreeable or like less pushback and less battling or whatever the case is. And it's like, I would say half the women who responded didn't even take it in. They're just like, Tate's a piece of shit. Fuck
Yeah,
this.
they're not going to listen.
Yeah.
The other half is like, I kind of see what he's saying, but every guy would get bored with that woman and would eventually leave him or cheat on him.
It's not.
And then all the guys are like, he's speaking facts. And I'm like, whoa.
Here's the thing about the agreeability thing.
Yeah.
It's first of all, it's great. Like I've had no. My wife got pissed at me once. I was walking on the way home and I was like, man, I hope we agree tonight. Like I was dreaming about agreeing, right? Like now here's the problem. I was like, ooh, like I wasn't going, I hope we fuck. I was going, I hope dinner's great. I was like, I hope we agree. Like I just want to walk in the house and be like, it was cold today. And I just need her to be like, yes. It was cold. Not like, well, for this time of year. So I understand the idea of agreeability. I understand the idea. Yeah, can we just get like a normal temperature?
Yeah, like
just 72 is good. Just put 72 and I promise I won't say anything else about it. Okay, so
watch.
Here's the thing, ready? With agreeability. The problem with agreeability and then never ever expressing your opinion, at least for someone like me, is that I will lose faith that that's how you actually feel, and I will feel more insecure that you're just bending to what I want and not being who you really are. So now I can't trust your reactions and I can't trust your emotions. If I can't trust your emotions or reactions, I feel more insecure.
And I kind of feel like I can't trust you, period. Like,
so
when
it
are you being
creates-
honest
Just
with
to
me?
give a bit more nuance, he actually said he doesn't want to push over.
Okay.
Like he wants somebody to have their own viewpoint, but on little things like the temperature or what we're
Nah,
gonna
he
eat
right,
tonight.
bruh. That motherfucker right, dog. Hey,
Bruh.
hey, how much is that university?
Because it's like, because like men do want to feel like, hey, we're leading, like trust us that we're leading us in the right direction. And it's like if women just give you pushback every step of the way, it's like, oh, you don't trust me.
Yeah.
And that's how we feel. Women are just like, no, I'm just voicing how I feel, or I'm voicing my opinion, or whatever the case is. And it's like, I just saw with the responses the clear disconnect of that topic.
Yeah. And then sometimes women feel like if they don't give some pushback or some reaction, they don't have a voice at all. And when you feel like you don't have a voice at all, sometimes you amplify your voice about everything to make sure that you have a voice to you.
Yeah.
Right? So now we're in this situation where it's really just ego. A man's ego going, I want to feel like I'm the man of the house, and a woman's ego, well, I don't want to feel like I'm nothing in the house.
I feel like a typical 50s woman with no opinion and no
Exactly.
freedom.
And this is where I think you get the pushback towards feminism, at least from like the red pill space, which is like, they're gonna go, feminism has made you think that you have to have an opinion about everything and give shit, and if not, you're getting walked over in your house. And it's like, yeah, the most extreme version of that. But the opposite is you're just sitting there like a little dove, quietly, not saying a single thing, and now your man is feeling insecure. Are you even happy?
Yeah.
Do you like how often you wanna go get something to eat? Sure. What do you want? I don't care. We don't want that shit. What do you want? I don't know. That's not what you want at all. That's the worst.
Yeah.
I like it when my girl is sure about the things that it makes me feel confident when my girl's sure about the things that she likes.
Yeah.
Because I know when she's happy about something, it's real.
Yeah.
I need to be able to trust your emotions. I need that.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with the other extreme, which is like the red pill extreme, is you could create a person where you can't trust anything that they say. And if you can't trust anything they say, that's no foundation for a relationship.
But yeah, I think it's also on the man to open up the conversation. Like if you are quote unquote leading in your relationship, and I don't think every relationship needs to follow the same exact thing necessarily, but if you are in a relationship where the guy's leading and the girl is sort of like in a, I guess, I don't know, like she's following your leadership, you need to open up that space and be like, hey, how do you actually feel about this, and create an environment where she's able to talk freely. Like if you've created it where you don't like listen to her opinion, or if she voices something and you just like shut it down, that's on you for creating a hostile environment for her to share what she thinks.
And if she raises her opinion and you can't tell her why, this is why I think long term this is the best move for us, that's on you. If you can't communicate what you think your vision is and why it's that way and why you're gonna get there with this route, you probably don't deserve to have it.
But then he was saying he doesn't want to always have to
explain every single
all the time. No,
every single time.
I'm signing up for Hustlers University. I'm absolutely doing it. Don't think I'm not.
So we read Bill.
I'm orange at least.
But it is the power of communication.
Yeah.
It's like if his career was built on only going on female podcasts explaining these principles to them, there's a different version of Andrew Tate. And I don't know if it touches many guys. I don't know if it touches many guys.
I don't know if it's as big of a version.
And it might not be. And it might not make the views, it might not do it. It's like, even with the episode that Pearl put out, I think the name of the episode is Tate Destroys Feminists, ! It's just like, and I get it, you're tapping into the algorithm. We all tap into the algorithm. The problem with that is you're isolating the people that actually would benefit from the message through that algorithmic cocoon that's created. It's just every dude that just wants to see feminists is clicking that. Instead of a few women that are like, oh, wait a minute, is that why my boyfriend or my husband reacts with such insecurity when I do that? Oh, fuck. And just because they do doesn't make it right, but at least you know why they have that impulse. That's really important. It's not necessarily you, it's shit baked in our DNA from fucking millions of years of evolution.
Yeah, I guess it's also the intention of the message. Like he might be packaging it incidentally the way that he is because he's just going based off how he feels. But if the intention of it is like empathy, like with this Brittany Renner thing, I haven't seen the clip, but if the feeling is like, oh, let me actually help you, I think the message is interpreted completely differently than if the intention is, let me dunk you.
First thing he says, I'm pretty sure, is, you're right, there is a double standard. Like he doesn't.
He says unfair. It's unfair.
He says it's unfair, which is even more like, but he doesn't say it like, fuck you, yes, unfair. He's like, no, you're right to feel this. It is unfair. Here's why we think it's unfair. And it's like, oh, that, but again, he's so funny and so good at creating gravity, and the best way to do that is by being funny and being salacious. I think the reason he rose like a comet is, I gotta be salacious and I can back it up with comedy and packaging.